Good morning, I'm DK Rosner. This is TTT News. We are bringing you the latest update on a tropical storm Gonzalo. This is in mind of the country being placed on orange alert, and the people are being advised to take all necessary precautions. So we first go to our meteorologist, Ian Wallace, for an update on the storm.
Thank you very much, DK. Well, we're still looking at a tropical storm Gonzalo as it affects the Caribbean, especially for the southern Windward Islands. Trinidad and Tobago is now beginning to feel the effects with those heavy showers and thunderstorms and spells of rain coming into eastern parts of Trinidad and spreading into the west as well. Now, a tropical storm Gonzalo has weakened. It's poorly organized, but it still will likely be a rainmaker. Possibility of 50 to 100 millimeters of rainfall, and that will possibly be the street or flash flooding, as well as a very high risk of landslides or landslips, as well as the gusty winds and tropical storm force winds up to 85 kilometers per hour. I'm just going to show you some graphics that we have running up right now, and basically you notice that for the point that we have been looking at, we have been seeing quite a bit of that activity across Trinidad. There is a tropical storm warning in effect for Tobago, as we talked about the street or flash flooding, the landslides and the landslips being at a very high risk, as well as the gusty winds over 85 kilometers per hour. And this will last until 8 o'clock Saturday evening. Also, there's a hazardous seas alert in effect at the yellow level right now, obviously for Tobago, surrounding waters around Trinidad as well. Rough conditions expected. Waves up to 4 meters are likely, with those winds whipping up the waves, especially out in the Atlantic, and then along the Tobago Sound, that piece of water between Tobago and the North Trinidad, and it will likely be choppy as well in those bays. Now, we have been seeing the track of Gonzalo getting ever so westward, and that will be the trend as it goes through the next 12 hours. It is forecast to weaken as we get towards the Eastern Caribbean Sea, but that could well be by tonight. But in terms of the overall impacts, we are expecting that those impacts will be mostly felt across Tobago as well as Trinidad, maybe as far north as Grenada as well, to a lesser extent. But obviously, we here on the center path of Gonzalo will likely feel the brunt of these effects. Now, the winds, as we said, are likely to be around the 85 kilometer per hour mark, but it could be down to about 65. We'll be seeing those gusts as well. So there's a possibility that we could be seeing branches from trees being broken off by those winds, as well as any loose objects being flown about with those winds as we go through the next 12 hours. Now, the rainfall, as I said, this is going to be the major part of it. Looking at rainfall amounts up to 125 millimeters in places. It could be higher, especially over those higher elevations, such as the Northern Range and the Main Ridge across in Tobago. So that's where the very high risk of landslides and landslips comes into play. So this is something that we definitely have to watch as we go through the next 12 hours. So this right now, you can see here that Tropical Storm Gonzalo is right on our doorstep, coming across between Trinidad and Tobago. And you can notice in there that we'll likely see a lot of that activity continuing, at least for the next few hours. So DK, that's how it's looking, and we'll keep you updated as we go through the day.
Thank you very much, Ian. Looking forward to those updates. And as you said, right on our doorstep, but we are ready to speak now with the regional coordinator of the ODPM, Eric Mackey. So we say thank you for making the time, Mr. Mackey.
Hi, good morning. How are you this morning?
Well, I guess I'm listening to you and Ian Wallace to find out. But what can you tell us about this tropical storm and some of the things that we're supposed to be paying attention to?
Well, it has some wind, but the wind is not particularly strong. It's a weak, disorganized tropical storm, right? We expect that we'll see winds possibly up in the 65 or 70 kilometer range, but it shouldn't get any much more than that. We have already seen the forward edge of it come over the island and bring some rain showers and some gusty winds, and we can expect more of that during the day today.
I mean, are there any specific areas that should be more aware or alert in terms of Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, it's large enough to encompass all of both islands, which it is busy doing that right now. So the east coast of Trinidad and the exposed coastline of Tobago primarily would be the first impact point. But don't put all your stuff in that area. It will come across the island, and different areas will be affected. Now, it's not one big solid mass. It's more like areas of concentrated rainfall. So you will see that some areas will get more rainfall than others.
All right. Have you had any reports thus far of flooding or similar events?
No, not as yet. But it's a little bit early. That first wave has just come through just within the last half hour or so. And we have had reports of heavy rainfall and strong gusty winds out of the east coast of Trinidad. And we're looking to see now if anything should come out of that, or whether things will start to happen later on.
All right, now it's one thing to say, okay, well, telling people to take necessary precautions. What are some of those precautions?
Well, if you live in a flood-prone area, you need to look out for rising floodwaters. If you live there, you should already have your sandbags from the municipal corporation, and you should have bags around your doorways and stuff like that, wherever water can get into your property. You should have bagged those areas to reduce or eliminate the possibility of the floodwater entering your home. For one thing, today is not a day to be outside. Today is a day for indoors. Along with the rainfall, we expect some thunderstorm activity. As you know, thunderstorms have lightning in them. The lightning can be dangerous, and being out in open fields and so on today would not be a good idea. Also, with the rain, there's also the likelihood of wind. So again, staying indoors is a very good idea.
All right, so we want to thank you very much, Eric Mackey, ODPM Regional Coordinator. So thus far we've spoken with meteorologist Ian Wallace as well as Eric Mackey. We go now to the lovely sister Isle of Tobago, speaking to the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. Good morning, Mr. Dennis. What can you tell us is happening in Tobago at this time? Mr. Dennis, Ansel Dennis? All right, you seem to have lost that call. Just reminding you that we are on orange alert. And as Mr. Mackey just said, this is a phenomenon that is large enough to encompass Trinidad and Tobago. So and Ian, I want to ask you right now, please, take us through the difference of moving from yellow alert to orange.
Okay, well, the alert levels are designated simply by one, the likely impact that this system will cause as we go from those yellows to orange alert. Obviously, there's also the possibility of the certainty as well as the intensity of the system. So with all of these parameters, once we get the intensity correct, and the parameters are saying that we are likely to see a lot more bigger impacts, and obviously the alert level will rise. Now, we do have the alert levels. There are 4 of them. There's green, which is when there's nothing usually happening. Then we have yellow, and then we go to orange, and then we go to red. Well, right now, the adverse weather alert is at orange. That was the latest that we've seen, latest update. And we still have that tropical storm warning in effect. So obviously, at this time, then as Eric Mackey was saying, the best thing to do is to stay indoors. Don't try to venture out because with a system like this, there will be those isolated pockets of heavy showers, those downpours. And that's where we'll likely see those intense downpours, bringing the very high risk of landslides and land slippage. And in terms of the rainfall, right now, Tobago up to 8 o'clock this morning, this got 22 millimeters of rainfall, but that is set to obviously ramp up as we go through the day. So rainfall amounts, as I said, looking still at the 50, maybe 100 millimeters in places, and that's going to be the major problem here. The winds, not so much, as Gonzalo remains quite disorganized.
No, I asked the question of Eric Mackey. I'll ask you as well. In terms of, are there areas that are supposed to be a bit more expecting or alert, but we can continue that conversation because we actually take a break and we come back with more. We keep you updated, but actually we are also reminding you that we have the presser that will happen today. As the day continues, we will have updates for you. This is the end of this one. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to stay tuned for the information as it comes from the entire network, and we thank you for joining us at this point in time.